The West Tigers podcast is brought to you by the West Tigers Podcast Forum. Have your say on anything to do with the West Tigers, westtigers.com.au.
West Tigers Podcast, episode 389. Gary, Nick and Eddie on a Wednesday night. I was going to say plenty to talk about, boys, but not much to talk about. We just ask AI, Nick, what to talk about because, you know, without Justin Pascoe and Lee and all these clowns, there's very little to talk about during the week.
There is very little to talk about. I did just put in a couple of talking point suggestions into ChatGPT for out of interest's sake and got a pretty good laugh back. So apparently, according to ChatGPT, we still have David Klemmer and Stefano Utoikamanu in the starting props, and it even threw out a suggestion that Luke Brooks or whoever is playing halfback needs to have a dominant kicking game this weekend. So ChatGPT won't be using you again.
I actually think we do need to use it again, Nick, because artificial intelligence is better than yours.
Thanks, Gary.
Little shot from Gary early across the bows. Boys, I didn't listen to the podcast on Monday night. I just tuned out for about 3 days. I was got to admit, I was just very down about that game, Gary. It's probably the most down, and I think that's a good sign because I just thought the implications of losing that game. I literally haven't watched a minute. Usually I watch a few podcasts, different podcasts or NRL shows, and I haven't watched anything for 3 days because I just thought it was really one that got away.
Yeah, Joel was saying he took that loss fairly hard as well, harder than he's taken some floggings over the past couple of years. Yeah. And I do think that's positive signs. The fact that we're disappointed over a 2-point loss early in the season, it shows to me that we're expecting better from our side. Because if you compare the performance the other night, it's probably better than what we've seen in previous years. But the fact is, some people are disappointed. I did get a couple of cracks through the week of being a bit too negative. But I actually think we are picking up at smaller things I think we're focusing on at the moment than what it has been in the past. And I think we're closer to being where we want to be than we were this time 12 months ago. So I just think people are a little bit impatient, myself included, and we want to see us winning those games. And if we genuinely want to be a top 8 side, we need to be winning games like we had on Sunday night.
I know that we lost several moments in that game on the weekend, and I wrote down a few. There were quite a few that stood out, and you guys covered it on the pod after the game on the weekend. But the thing that I do like, and I take some comfort out of, is there's a lot more fight in this team. I know it's early days, and we've seen this before in early parts of the season where we're competitive, and that's fallen away towards the back end of the year. But I'm hoping that I have a feeling it's going to be a bit different this year. I do think that we'll continue to grow and evolve as the season goes on. It's a real shame that we're missing Jerome this week, and also Skelton's still out. That's a big one because I would have loved to have seen our full strength team up against the Broncos. I know I spoke about it last week or the week before about this Broncos game being more of a benchmark for me, just to get an idea of where we sit amongst the strong teams. But this week's going to be tough, but I do think that there's a lot more room for improvement. I think we'll continue to get better. I'm not overly concerned yet, like Eddie is.
Just overall picture, Gary, it's sort of like, if you had said to anyone the Wooden Spooners of the last 3 years are going to start their season with 2 wins and 2 2-point losses, like it's pretty consistent, decent going, but the real gutting part for me is that most teams in that middle pack have 8 to 10 games decided by 6 points or less. And if you finish on the wrong end of them, you can finish down the bottom. And we're 0-2 already in 2-point games, both of them at our traditional home ground in Campbelltown.
Yeah, and I said on Sunday night that they were games I thought we should have won. And especially on the weekend, I think there was 6 or 7 moments that Nick just brought up that we spoke about the other night. 6 or 7 moments where if we'd made a different decision or we had executed a little bit better, we just need to do one of those and we probably come away with the win in that game. That's kind of how close it was to winning. And for me, we've got to focus on those moments and why we aren't achieving those moments. Because for me, that's the difference between winning and losing a game. We want to be winning the game, so we look at those areas like the Fatape kick in field, the Terrell May not getting the ball down over the line, Stafford Toll running the wrong line, and because he ran the wrong line, Buller's got called back for an obstruction. All those little things, that's what cost us the game the other night. We get one of those right, we win that game, and that's where we've got to be better. We've got to look at those little things, those moments where inexperience, young players, confidence, a side coming off 3 wooden spoons. We need to look at those little things that we didn't execute right on the weekend, fix those up, and that will allow us to win those close games. Despite all the excuses and all the reasons that are there for those things not happening, if we can improve that, that's an extra win in our win column.
And the Warriors scored 2 tries off the back of us not having markers ready to defend as well. I know that we were getting a bit scrambled at times. We were on the back foot, but 2 of the Warriors tries I've got written down came off the back of us, or the Warriors getting up and playing the ball so quick that our markers were not set. We didn't have anyone set at all, and they just burned us simply straight through the middle and caught us snapping.
Look, and the hard thing is, against a side like the Warriors in the wet, they've got a big explosive forward pack. They always have. There's going to be times where those like test forwards that they have, props, they're going to bust your defensive line a little bit, and they're going to get the fast play of the ball. It's really hard to avoid that against a side like the Warriors. But they're all little things that if we do one of them better, we win that game.
I haven't been game to watch the replay, Gary, but maybe you can tell me, because I was out drinking in Coogee, watching the game, getting very excited and then very depressed. That last try, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think a serious side can give up a try like that. Do you put it down to just a simple blokes getting lazy on the short side, or is it down to leadership? It was just, and even like the 2 efforts on the tackler were just really poor. I just thought it was such a soft way to lose the game.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that led to that try. It was off a fairly quick play of the ball. Fatape, whose left wing they actually made the breakdown, made that tackle. So he made the tackle on that play. We also had Jerome Luai defending out on the wing because he done his shoulder at some point during that game, stayed on the field and was defending on the wing. So which also pushed whoever was playing inside him, it was probably Bird at the time, pushed him further infield than what he's probably used to defending. Well, he's defending in the middle, so that's probably not valid. But it did mess up our defensive structure on that left side. And I think they took advantage of that quite well. They created the extra man, and Luai was unable to jam in quick enough to kind of shut that last ball down. And they made the breakdown that right-hand side. Bird and Buller needed to do a better job as that last line of defense because they both had a crack at him and they both failed to put him to the ground. We need to be better in that little situation as well. Again, it's one of those things. It's another moment that if we get that moment right, we probably win that game. We also had the penalty. They won the game off a penalty kick from a really soft high shot. It's another moment we just have to get right.
Thought, Nick, I did listen to Benji's press conference. He was pretty curt. Like I was a bit, I don't mind him having cracked at referees if it's for future reference, which I think the good coaches do, is to get inside their head. And I think Ricky Stewart won a few refs' decision this week based on his press conference the week before. But I thought he was clutching at straws, blaming referees for that defeat.
Yeah, it did come across a little bit that way.
Luai could have been in the sin bin for that shot.
Yeah,
and would be this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say will be this week. Yeah, and when they slowed it down and had a look at it, I thought, oh, here we go, could be our first bin of the season, but it didn't happen. But yeah, it does sound like it's going to start going that way. And I guess Seyfarth would probably be in the bin for that tackle on Nickel Clockstat too. So that's a hard one with that Nickel Clockstat one. He was coming from a low position up on Seyfarth, who was standing there bracing himself, waiting to stop him. So I mean, it's those grey areas, isn't it? But unfortunately, this day and age, you make any contact with
Yeah.
the head, you're in big trouble.
You can't go as a defender now. Years past, players used to go in, catch and hold, and try and hold the player up. We defended like that for a long time. The game has gone away from that a little bit, but you can't go upright into a tackle anymore. If you go upright into a tackle and just try and hit them with your chest, someone's head is going to come in contact with your shoulder. And as soon as their head comes in contact with your shoulder or your arm, it's a penalty. And from what the NRL has said this week, it's a sin bin. So you actually need to change your technique in tackling. You actually need to get yourself lower, and you have to lower your target area to around the probably the lower chest area. You can't be in a situation where you're just grabbing at a guy with your chest because their head's going to touch your shoulder. And all it takes now, all that was on Sunday night was a touch to the shoulder. I don't like that that's a penalty, but the fact is that's the rules now, and that's a penalty.
What I don't like is what are we this week? Is it round 5? Round 5 this week? That the NRL's come out after round 4 and said, these are the rules we're going to crack down on. Maybe they should have put this out in black and white in the preseason and said from round 1, if there's any contact, like last year, there were that many sin bins and everyone got sick of it last year, but I don't like how it happens a month into the competition.
I think the interpretation over the first month of football has been better than it was last year.
I agree.
I don't think we should be going back to that. It's a blanket rule that you touch someone on the head, it's a sin binning. I thought the interpretation. Look, there's going to be times where they don't get it exactly right. There's going to be times where, if it's up to discretions, there's going to be times where someone gets a hit on the shoulder and it probably should be a sin bin and it's not. But I'd actually prefer that to going overboard. If you go overboard, accidental head highs, which Safeast definitely was, accidental head highs are going to cost teams games.
It's like that Magic round a year ago, debacle. That'll be this weekend.
Crazy, mate. It's just crazy. It is a contact sport. It is a hard-hitting contact sport. It's probably one of the most aggressive contact sports in the world. You can't eliminate accidents. Accidents are going to happen, and I understand penalising, but when you start removing players from the field because of an accident, then you're ruining the spectacle of the game. You're ruining the competition. And if a team has bad luck and they have 3 or 4 where just slips up a little bit high and they're sin binning for that, then a team is going to get really the chances blown because of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if soon we see a side playing with 11 players because they've got 2 in the bin. Because it is that common and it does happen that easy. But players know the rules. So adjustments do need to be made to how they tackle. It happened in the NFL. NFL players used to go in with the head-on-head contact was actually a tackling technique in the NFL. And they brought in rules about how you're meant to position yourself, how your head's meant to be up, facing up towards a player when you go into a tackle. You can't lower the top of your helmet like they used to do.
They don't.
And players made adjustments. Pardon? Sorry, Eddie?
They don't sin bin people, though, do they?
No, they don't. They hit them with pretty big fines, though. And I've liked that the NRL's gone towards fines a little bit more, because as soon as you get players out, Luai's out this weekend for it wasn't a great tackle, but 5 years ago it would have been completely fine. And so one of the best players, arguably in the game this weekend, is not playing because of a head high shot. And the game against the Broncos that was already a really difficult game is now a less attractive game because he's not playing.
This last point on the game, it was sort of my one word. I changed it a few times. I had gutting originally, and then I went a bit darker, Nick, and I went criminal because I thought it was criminal, that last try. Not that we have criminals in our side, but then I just thought, I looked at a couple of stats, and I went with sort of athletes. I just think we're lacking some really. I didn't want to use Joel's word of physicality, but
He doesn't use that word very much, though, Eddie.
Oh, I know, but he used it a few times over the years, just a few. And I looked at the run meters. New Zealand was over 2,000 run meters. Average set distance stood out. Usually it's, 2 or 3 meters between the sides, but Warriors average set distance 47, Tigers average 38 for the game. So just wondering outside as a whole sort of squad, whether they've just got more naturally sort of gifted athletes across the board.
But before Nick goes, that must be a really good stat, Eddie, because both you and Joel have raised it in each of the pods. So
There
that
you
must
go.
be a great
Body
stat.
model.
Yeah, they made a lot of quick meters, the Warriors. I don't know. I reckon we're a pretty fit looking bunch, but we just don't have the impact or the physicality that Joel keeps, banging on about to, I guess, to compete. And it worries me going into the Broncos game when you look at their forward pack and even the class and the speed in their back line. If they can get some quick play to balls, which, everyone gets quick play to balls against us, they're going to put us on the back foot very quickly. And if we get into situations where we're lazy around, marking the ruck, they could open us up pretty quickly. I'm hoping they don't. I'm really hoping that we can put on some type of an ambush on the weekend against the Broncos. But yeah, this one worries me a little bit.
It wasn't even necessary. I just had a look at some of their, Fisher Harris and Mitch Barnett didn't have huge stats, Gary, and Terrell May and Vanilla Polo had great numbers throughout the game. But looking at some of their back row and bench numbers, I think they had 5 or 6 or 7 forwards over 100 metres. So it's just sort of like those fringe players of them seem a little bit more naturally gifted athletes than some of our guys.
Yeah, I think Sam Fainu going off hurt us a lot. I thought he was playing. I thought in that game he was playing well, and I thought the previous week he had quite a good game as well. I thought he was building nicely into the season, so I think that hurt us, and we don't really on the bench have a natural replacement for that. So we had to make do a little bit with that replacement, and I think we end up putting Sione out there. So I think that hurt us a little bit, especially. Yeah, you are right. I think their fringe sort of players did a better job than ours the other night. Though I thought Seyfarth had a really strong game outside of a couple of penalties he gave away. So yeah, it was a really disappointing game to lose, but I actually think we're a lot closer than it probably looks.
Gary, one of my moments from the weekend against the Warriors was what you mentioned when was it Gavin put the kick downfield from inside our own half, and
So Taruva
unfortunately,
with about a minute to go.
oh no, the one I meant where Fatape made the unfortunate decision on the second tackle to kick it
Oh, yeah,
rather
okay.
than.
So the one down the left-hand side.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Luai that kicked that ball, but anyway, where Fatape kicked it over the sideline, do you think that moment might have cost Fatape his place in first grade? Because I know he's been dropped for this week. I just wonder whether that sort of had, because I didn't think he was too bad leading up until that moment.
I don't think so, because the fact we upgraded him today.
Yeah,
So I don't think
contradictory.
it's probably cost him a spot. That is one moment where we needed to make a better decision. He's obviously a right-footed kicker, and he's not comfortable kicking on his left foot at all. And he tried to kick that ball with his right foot. I think knowing that, he would have been much better to fall on the ball or try and pick up the ball. So I just think that was a poor decision. I thought he had a fairly strong game the other night. He was pretty good under the high ball. Where we did lack, and I think I mentioned it on Sunday night, Skelton not being there hurt us a lot. Because though I thought Fatape had a really strong game, Skelton's been going for about 180 metres a game, and Fatape went for 80. So that's a massive difference. That's a massive change in the side. And having a look at the fact that we've picked Luke this weekend, I think Luke will get a lot closer to Skelton's meters than Fatape did on the weekend. And for me, that's why that change has been made, just because we need that go forward out of our own end from our back three. And I think Luke provides that a lot better than Fatape does.
I agree, Gary. I'm really excited to watch Luke Lalali come back this week. He's a good young fella and a good young player. Runs the ball really strongly too. Just hope he can keep his head out of that impact zone, because he doesn't need any more head knocks.
I actually find he's a very similar player to Taruva. Like the similar build, similar height, runs the ball quite hard for a stocky sort of shorter guy. What I do worry about, he hasn't played much football. So his first game back, he played New South Wales Cup on the weekend, and that's it this season. Didn't play in the trials, so he's had a couple of head injuries and has spent some time on the sideline through concussion protocols. So I'm a little bit worried about his fitness, but I'm very happy to see him back playing. I think he's a really strong footballer. I think he'll learn a lot from playing. I know they're on opposite sides of the field, but playing with Taruva, I think there's a lot that he can kind of model his game off, because I do see them as very similar sort of players.
West Tigers provided a roster update today, boys. That Fatape has been upgraded to the top 30, and they have got two players who've got NRL experience on training contracts. Isaac Tuitopu, I apologise if I'm not pronouncing these names because it's the first time I've seen him, and Christian Mapapalangi. Um, Boys have played for South and Newcastle in 2022 and 2023. Gary, is this what's the reasoning behind the upgrade of Fatape, do you think?
Uh, I've thought long and hard about this today. I think it's an odd sort of upgrade. To me, it puts the nail in the coffin of Talon May coming here. I think if you're upgrading an outside back who you already have in your squad who can already play first grade, you're probably not bringing in another outside back. So I don't expect to see May come across. I was really confused by it. I yeah,
Are
I
there rules?
didn't.
Are there rules around that you can't have a few spots open for too long? Because what's the rush
No,
to fill it with
you don't
Fatape?
actually have to fill the top 30. You can actually go through the whole season on 28, and this gets us to 28. So to me, it kind of signals that it's probably the end of what we're going to sign unless something becomes available. Though I did speak to Jordan about it briefly this afternoon, and I think he nailed it when he's actually said to me, Fatape was on a development contract. We don't have any spare development spots. Macassini can play towards the end of the season, and I think it opens up a development spot for him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see later in the season Macassini go into a development spot. And it may be just to get Fatape out of that development spot position so they can use it on Macassini.
Anything to add there, Nick, on Fatape upgrade? I didn't think it was earth-shattering news, but it's probably the only news sort of this week.
No, nothing on Fatape. He's a bit of rocks and diamonds for me. I do like him at times, and then other times he's a bit frustrating. But I guess that's probably what we get with a lot of our fringe players. Speaking of one of those young fellas, so Christian Mapapalangi, I actually mates with his uncle, so I knew Christian when he was just a little fella. I worked
Name
with his
drop.
grandfather. Long story short, but he was a good kid, and I did pay a bit of attention to him last year when he debuted for the Knights. So he's a big, strong fella. I think he was a centre for the Knights last year, but a bit of potential there. So I think he might be coming back from injury at the moment. But yeah, hopefully he can provide some depth for us as well.
They both play centre slash wing, Gary. So like you said, the Taylor May stuff, it's gone quite cold. Do you think every club's just sort of sitting back and maybe doing a few checks and balances on him at the moment? Because I thought someone would have swooped in by now.
Yeah, well, if you have a look at his posts on social media, he'll be getting some divine intervention about when he actually plays football again. So I think he may be just going through the process of sorting out with a number of clubs where he's going to kind of land. I expect to see him sign somewhere soon. I at this point, having a look at our roster decisions today, I don't expect it to be with us.
I mean, we don't know anything about how loose he is, Gary, or whether he's not fit for this type of squad we're building. But on the surface, it seems madness given our problems sort of in the outside back and centres that we wouldn't go after him given how good his brother's been.
Yeah, on the field, I think he'd provide an awful lot. So I think he's exactly what we're kind of lacking in in the outside backs. I think the outside backs is one of probably three starting positions that we need to upgrade in the next 12 months. So I would definitely be looking at him and trying to get him across to the club. Reservations about other aspects of his life notwithstanding, but I think on the football field he can do a really strong job for us, and I'd like to see him out on the field for us because yeah, I think it fills one of the vacant roster spots that we have a need for.
Only other bit of news this week, Nick, is obviously surrounding Lockie Galvin. been sort of some murmurs for the last week or two that the Tigers perhaps preparing a 5-year deal around the $5 million mark. Been a bit of commentary on that in the media. Where do you sit with that sort of deal? One, do you think that's a good offer by the club? And two, do you think that'll be enough to entice him to sign?
I think it's probably an offer that we're going to have to make. And I know I've had a look at the forum during the week and a few people, and on Facebook too, and our Facebook group, a few people saying it's crazy money for a kid that, has only shown potential and only in his second year of NRL, which is all very valid. But the issue is, if we don't make a substantial offer, he's going to get that money elsewhere, and most likely from more successful clubs, as most clubs are already in a more successful scenario than what we are coming from. And it'd be very easy for Lockie to make a decision to go to a more successful club and earn good money. So if that rumour is correct, 5 years, $1 million a season, it's probably not too far off. I mean, what's the cap going to increase to within 5 years? How many players are going to be on more than him in 5 years' time? Would he even accept that offer? That's another one too, because that's pretty good money for a 19-year-old, going into his third season next year. So it'd be interesting to see what we come out with in terms of an offer and then what his decision is.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's an offer for a guy who's in his teens that he probably should accept. It's $1 million a year. It takes him through to when he's about 24, coming into the peak of his career. So primed to renegotiate or negotiate with other clubs a monster deal if he's established himself as one of the Premier 5/8s in the comp. So I would expect if that deal is put on the table in front of him, I'd be hoping that would be a deal that he's going to sign. I think it's good for the club and I think it's good for him. So I would hope at that gets the deal done.
I mean, you hope, Gary, but do you think it'll actually happen, given his manager? Like, I just, people like Phil Gould says stuff like, oh, he doesn't need the money right now, and blah, blah. But I mean, that means nothing because unfortunately you're bidding against potentially five other clubs and you have to get market value,
And if you're in the position Phil Gould is where you can't offer him that money right now because Phil Gould can't make a play at him until season 2027. So he's just saying that he's not worth that money now, but I guarantee you in 2027 he's willing to pay him $1 million a year. So I don't listen to any of that sort of talk. I actually I know there's the Moses thing. Moses isn't actually his direct manager. He's managed day to day by one of Moses's managers below him. So I'm sure they probably all operate under the same kind of MO and probably negotiate in the same way. But I would hope, manager notwithstanding, that $1 million offer for a 19-year-old is enough to get a player over the line. If he turns around and doesn't sign that, to me that kind of suggests that he won't be here after 2026. So I think it's a good offer. I think it gives us a concrete answer, and it may be time if he doesn't want to sign that we start looking at putting Latu into the halves a little bit more than just when Jerome Luai's not playing.
I know we spoke about Lockie's situation a bit over the off-season, and it really, I know I mentioned it, a few of us mentioned it, it really comes down to how happy is he and are we winning games? And we've made a decent start against teams that probably are going to struggle to finish in the top 8 this season. The next 4 to 6 weeks is pretty pivotal coming up to the Origin period, I think, depending on where we sit on the ladder and how competitive we are against some of the stronger teams. I hope we're around that 50-50. I know I've mentioned it before, but if we start slipping away and it starts getting difficult and Lockie's thinking about his future, if I were 19 years old and trying to make a contractual decision about my next 3, 4, 5 years and all this sort of money's been thrown my way and my manager's in my ear saying, wait till November, let's see who's coming. I've heard whispers of Roosters or Melbourne or whoever. It's a really hard decision for a kid, isn't it? And we've spoken about, Gary, you've talked about his relationship with Talon and how important it is to lock the two of them up. It'd be very easy for Talon as well to, whether he works out something with Lockie, do we both stay here? Do we go elsewhere? Do we split? The the big four did, or the three of them did a few years ago, 2015 or whatever it was. It's a big few months coming up for West Tigers. And I think Steve said I can't remember if it's Steve or Declan, if Galvin leaves, it's really going to screw us and put us back to square one. It would be very frightening if that did happen. We do have Latu sitting there, and we've got Jerome locked in. Although he's free to negotiate from November 1 as well, so that's another caveat that I don't want to think about. But there is some backup there, but it is nervous times. I would hope that he'll stay, and I hope the money's good enough for him to stay, and he's happy enough that he wants to stay at the Tigers.
For me, that wanting to win games, and that's a little bit of a furphy for me with Lockie Galvin. Like, I get it. He's a competitor. He wants to win games. At no other club is he playing football last season. So no other club would he be playing NRL football. And I know it was a difficult year, and I know there was a lot of losses. But he was playing NRL football last year because we're a building squad. I don't see him.
I don't think they think about that, though, Gary, do they?
No, they don't.
You're not going to appreciate that, really.
But the other part of it is, if we're not winning football games, he's playing in the halves and pretty much getting the ball whenever he wants. We've got a 4-time premiership winner who at the moment is just creating space for him to play in. That's how Jerome Luai's playing.
Good, isn't it? I'm enjoying that.
It is. But who does that make? That puts a fair bit of the responsibility for wins on the Lockie Galvin shoulders. Now, I know he's a 19-year-old kid and he probably shouldn't have that expectation. But I'm sure he's very happy with the style of football and the amount of ball that he's getting. So if you want that much ball and you're 19 and you want to be that guy that has the ball in their hands constantly, then you need to take some of the responsibility for the wins and losses as well. So I'm not going to sit here and bag him out if we get mid-season and we're losing games, and because I don't think he needs that pressure on him as a 19-year-old. But he's looking for $1 million contract. He's getting plenty of ball. He is playing in the halves. He's got a 4-time premiership winner playing next to him. He needs to take some of that responsibility for wins and losses as well. And that was a big problem I had with the so-called Big Four we had at the time. They spoke about wanting to win football games. They were our spine. They were our spine. They were the guys who we were paying money to win us football games.
The club was a mess, though.
The club, look, and I'm not going to say that the club wasn't a mess. I don't think that is the case right now. I think the club is building and improving. So I do understand him wanting to win football games. But the role he's playing in this team, and he's probably playing that role a little bit early, and it's probably undeserved to have that pressure. But that is the role he wants to play in this team. He has to take some of that responsibility for those wins and losses as well. So it's very easy to pick up your ball and go play for the Roosters or the Bulldogs because you think you're going to win games there, but you're also not going to have the control of a team that you have here when you go over to those clubs either.
That's a good selling point, actually, Gary, but it's sort of the word hopefully. Again, I keep saying that, but like that was one thing I praised Benji for last year is how he handled Galvin. Like if he had come into a top side, would he have just been parked on the bench or maybe playing down one channel, getting limited ball? He's actually
or even not playing at all. Like there's not many guys who come into an NRL squad at 18 and are playing in the halves and are controlling games. It's very, very rare to happen. And we've got two others who are doing that as well in Talon, and Latu's doing a little bit of it as well now. Like it's a very rare thing to happen. But I guarantee you, at most clubs, he wouldn't be told just to play what you see. Like I think he's in the perfect spot for his development if he wants to have that control.
What do you made of his form this year? Because like he finished last year red hot last year. He started hot, then went a bit quiet middle of the year, a few dramas, finished outstanding. Looking at his numbers, they're all pretty good. Like he's got 3 try assists, 2 line break assists. He's got a try. Do you think he's on par with how he's playing last year?
Yeah, I'm very happy with how he's playing. Beautiful ball he threw to Safe after put him through to set up the try just before half time. I thought the kick towards the end of the game that he put in for Taruva was a beautiful kick, and if Taruva could have managed to get a pass inside, it very well could have won us the game. So I'm very happy with his form. I think he's doing a really good job. I still think his biggest threat is his running game at the moment, and I'd like to see him probably get a little bit better combination going with his second rows and centres. But I can't fault his start to the year. I think he's been quite strong, and as I said, he's a 19-year-old kid, and I don't think we're going to be having a discussion about a second year syndrome for him because I think the football he's playing has been fairly high quality.
Last point on this one, Nick. Do you sort of prefer, from a club point of view, a 5-year deal over a 10-year deal, or wouldn't bother you either way if he put pen on paper?
From a club point of view,
Yeah.
or my point of view,
Well, from
it
your
wouldn't
point
bother
of view,
me. From my point of view, it
what's the
wouldn't
ideal
bother
time
me.
to sign him for? If you had no opposition, how long would you sign him for? Because they may
It's a
be
really
forced into trying to sign him for 10 years if there's red hot
and
offers from Roosters or whatever.
and we've seen a couple of 10-year deals. Was Daly Cherry Evans deal 10 years? Is he at the end of that his 10-year
That's when
deal?
he backflipped on the Titans. I think Manly
Yeah.
got him 10 years.
So he's still killing it. He's still
Yep.
leading the way, not just for Manly, but also for Queensland in a
So
seven
you're going to
jersey.
say 20 years for Galvin, are you?
No,
Well,
no, I'm not.
the
But
funny thing is, he'll probably still be playing in 20 years. Like he could be.
Quite
He'd be
possibly.
30,
he could,
39 or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
I don't know about 20, but maybe 15.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to watch with Lockie. I would like to think that he'll be at the West Tigers for the next 10 years. Whether he'd be at the Tigers for 10 years as a 5'8", I'm not sure. I still think that he'd probably end up morphing into the back row, and he hasn't filled out yet. Like in another 2-3 seasons, assuming he fills out a little bit, I think and I think we've seen that too. He does drift all over the field, and he has gone a little bit wider on occasion. There's a couple of plays I actually highlighted that I wanted to mention. Two of the tries we scored in the second half against the Warriors. One was in the 50th minute. Now, this was a really nice backline play twice. The first one went through quite a few sets of hands, but Appy jumped out a dummy half, threw it to Latu. Latu had Terrell May running a decoy just inside of him. Latu threw it out to Jerome, who then threw it further out to Galvin. So Galvin was about 3 or 4 off the ruck when this all happened. He put the kick through for Tape, who scored. That was brilliant to watch. So that just shows how far across the field Galvin will go if he sees an opportunity. And he was probably playing close to centre or even back row at that point. But I guess the point I'm making is, at the moment, he's a playmaker, and you can see it with how active he is across the field, how much he wants his hands on the ball, how much he wants to dictate where the play's going. It's a real tough question, isn't it, whether you keep Latu Fainu at the club for the same period of time, because he's a half. He's either a half or, as Gary, you spoke about on Sunday night's pod or Monday, whenever it was, that he could potentially be a 13. And we've spoken about that as well, because he was playing a lot of that link role for the time that he was on the field. And he actually, that try that he scored, that was the second one I've got. Yeah, that was a brilliant try. And that set up, that backline movement was only 3 minutes later, and it was set up exactly the same way. And
I actually thought we lost our way when he was subbed off towards the end of the match as well.
Yeah, which leads me into this game against the Broncos with Latu at 7. And we saw what he and Galvin looked like in the halves during the trial, where Galvin, I don't know whether Galvin dominated more or Latu was just happy to feed it to Galvin a lot quicker than what Jerome does now. But it's going to be very interesting to watch that dynamic. But I guess going around the whole world to get to your answer, Eddie, 5 or 10 years, mate, I'd be happy for either. I'll take 5 as a starting point, but I'd take him for 10. Not sure if he'll end up playing the same position for the whole decade.
After Nick's 15-minute monologue, I almost forgot what I wanted to say. But I actually wanted to go back to your point, Eddie, of us using 10 years as a negotiation tactic to get him to sign to compete with other clubs. I don't think a 10-year deal benefits him. I really think he's going to be 24 at the end of a 5-year deal, coming into the best part of his career. I think that's the time he has the ability to hit one of those monster deals in the NRL. If we sign him up for $1 million a season now, you're not going to get him at $1 million a season for 10 years, because I think come 5 years' time, if he's still playing in the halves, which I think I have no doubt he can play in the back row. I have no doubt he can play at lock. But there's been a lot of bigger 5'8s. Brad Fittler's a prime example. Brafer Nasser was a big 5'8". These are guys that could play in the back row, could play lock, could play out at 5'8" as well, and they did a really good job of that. I see him doing similar to that, being able to play in those back row positions, but also being able to play as a 5'8". So I don't see why he would sign a 10-year deal when he'll be coming off contract at 24 and could be looking at 1.4, $1.5 million a season.
Braithen Astor, one of the great West Tigers players too, Gary.
Look, he may have been poor at the Tigers, but I don't think you can doubt he had a really solid career. Was a bigger 5'8" and was a fairly good 5'8", but was also able to play at lock. So he may or not have been great at the Tigers, but I think he still proves my point.
Sheensy signed him as a 7.
We did sign him as a 7.
Sheensy didn't even get to coach him, did he? That was just a complete.
In saying that though, the Roosters did play. The Roosters played him a game at fullback.
Yeah, I remember that. Did I see something on socials, Gary, that Galvin's got a brother that's even taller? Coming through.
Yeah, he played in the he played for the Macarthur West Tigers in the Andrew Johns Cup grand final on the weekend. Lockie presented him with the jersey, and he was half a foot taller than what Lockie is. And what's Lockie, 6'2", 6'3", or something?
Not sure.
Yeah, he is massive, and he is still that's under 17s or something. So he's going to be a big boy.
Maybe that's
sign him for 15 years.
It's part of the bargaining, Nick. It's like when the old Shaquille Mitchell used to get signed by South to keep Latrell happy. Maybe we upgrade.
He's still at South, is he?
I think he is. Yeah. And to be fair, he's turned into an okay first grader. But
he was about 150 kilos when they first signed him.
Sheens, Gary, was handing out, top 30 deals like hotcakes. Why don't we give one to Lockie's brother just to keep Lockie happy?
We've got a couple of spots spare.
Yeah.
We could end up with a couple of Galvins, a couple of Mays, a few Fainus.
Put him on the bench.
Does Buller have any brothers?
Let's preview this game against the Broncos.
Didn't Nick already do that in his 15-minute monologue?
Well, we could get ChatGPT to read the preview for the Broncos, read out our team of Brooks and Utica Manu and all those clowns. But anyway.
It would have a less robotic voice than Nick anyway.
We play the Broncos. Obviously, the record overall is not great. 9 wins, 23 losses, and a draw. 10 from 24 at Suncorp, which is not a terrible record. Obviously, there's some games outside of Broncos games there. We played a couple of Magic Round games there. But the side, boys, interesting side this week, Nick. A very young side. Luke Lilly on the bench. Latu Fainu at halfback. So if you throw in Lockie, is that 3 teenagers in your 1 to 7?
Yeah, well, Luke Lilly's starting winger, isn't he? I think he's named at number 5. So, back to 3 teenagers. I'm glad Appy's still at 9. I think he's a huge part of if we've got any chance at all against the Broncos of leading us down the park. So, again, it's going to be very interesting to see how Galvin and Latu Fainu go in the halves this week. It's a massive task. I wouldn't be backing Steve's house this week on a Tigers win. I'm just hoping that we're competitive.
What are you hoping to see, Gary, out of this game? I'm thinking only little flashes, but we saw flashes from Latu in the last trial and then more than flashes on the weekend. I get the feeling he's about to maybe, I don't know what the word is, but he almost be exposed as a player of interest for a lot of other clubs because we've sort of had him hidden away and he's been injured. He hasn't played much, but is he about to explode onto the scene?
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding on the weekend. I would have liked to have seen him play this weekend off the bench in a similar role to what he did last weekend. I thought he did a really good job of that. It'll be interesting to see how he goes at half. A lot of people see him as a genuine halfback. I still think he's more of a 6 than a halfback, but I guess we'll get a really good look at that this weekend. For me, this is interesting. I've been rabbiting on all year about how I don't want Appy playing 80 minutes. But if I was going to play him at 80 minutes, it would be this weekend. I think with the young players we have in the spine, even Doreen Buller, who's really only into his 3rd season, the start of his 3rd season, I think I am a little bit worried about that period where Talon comes on and it's just a spine of three 19-year-olds and a third season Dream Buller. That does worry me a little bit in this game. And I think Appy's leadership could be important during that part. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with that. For me, look, the Broncos are a really dangerous side. This is a game I don't want to see us get blown away because it has the potential to be that. We've got injuries to key players. We're still missing Skelton. Really still unsure about Adam Dewey and Sam Fainu, whether they're actually going to get up and play. So there's a chance we could have a couple more outs before we get to game time. And that Brisbane forward pack, it's big, it's explosive.
Scary side on paper, isn't
It's fast. Like Payne Haas is a big, massive human, but he covers the ground really quickly as well. I'm really scared of how they're going to play off the back of his play the balls because he gets a really quick play the ball and they get a lot of 6 agains off his play the ball as well. I'm really worried about that impact on the game. And the thing is, like they've got this dangerous forward pack, but it doesn't get any better. Like they've got the most experienced halves in the competition. We've got the least experienced halves in the competition. The Hunt and Reynolds are doing a fairly good job of getting them around the park. And then you got a guy like Reece Walsh, who once they create a little bit of room for him, he can just cut you apart and create space for their outside backs who are all big and quick as well. It's really hard to see how you're going to break them down. I did watch the game against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins did quite well with short passing around the middle. So I'd like to see us try and implement that a little bit. Forwards actually passing to each other work quite well for them. I guess when trying to get the bigger forwards moving laterally, I think has to be a tactic that we're looking at. I think Appy can help with that a lot. He's ball playing out of dummy half, especially down on their line. I think that's an opportunity where we can maybe do something against them. The Dolphins also used crash balls to centers and second rollers that worked quite well. They weren't able to score off them because the Broncos tended to cover really well and scramble really well in defense and hold them out. But that was a definite option in their game plan that they used quite well in the weekend. But having a look at that Broncos side, it's a very scary looking team.
There's strike everywhere, isn't there?
Yeah,
so much strike. KB Hetherington, what a great ball player he is at 13 as well. Payne Haas is one of the scariest people I've seen, and unless you get up and close to Gary Watson, who's pretty damn scary when you're up close for other reasons. He's a very scary person running at you. That's Payne Haas, not Gary. But one thing I just wanted to mention, Gary, you said when Coruscant goes off, you're probably worried about having those 19 and 18-year-olds, I guess, leading the spine. I guess when Coruscant comes off, that's probably around the time that Jack Bird's going to be on the field. And hopefully that's his opportunity to stand up and show his leadership. And he can be the voice when Appy's off to really, bark orders and get the boys running in the right direction.
The other point I want to raise is Brisbane, in my opinion, have been a little bit up and down this season. I don't think they've really hit their straps yet. So if we manage to get them on a day where they're a little bit down, I think that makes things a lot closer as well. We're still a side that's rebuilding from coming from a spoon. Brisbane, having a look at Melbourne's form over the past couple of weeks and Penrith's storm over the past couple of weeks, this Brisbane side's right in the premiership race, in my opinion, and that I'm starting to think they're probably going to end up as one of the favourites for the competition because they're just so dangerous everywhere. So in past years, I'd be really worried about this game being a 60, 70 point day where a side just runs through us.
Might only be 40 or 50, Gary.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying it'll be 40 or 50. Yeah. But if we can keep this as a respectable game, I want to see us scoring points. I think our attack, while looking clunky, we've managed to score points this season. So I want to see us getting up around 20 points, and I don't want to see them really going past 30. I want this to be a competitive game. I want to see the fight in our team. I want to see I do think for the most part our defensive resolve has been really good this season. I want to see that continue against a side that is going to throw a lot at us on the weekend. So it's not all about winning. I'd love to win this game, and I don't think it's out of the worlds of possibility that we can win this game. I think we can, but we'd need things to go our way. But the main thing I want to see this weekend is a side that digs in, competes for the full 80 minutes, and really those defensive structures and that defensive resolve we're seeing over the start of the season, that needs to continue against a high quality team.
So this is a game that we're not expected to win. We're hoping we're going to be competitive.
Probably suits our mentality.
Correct. This is a really good opportunity for Benji to show what he is worth as a coach, because he can come up with a game plan here to try and figure out how to shut Brisbane down. So I'm sure he's been watching a bit of video in amongst his family time this week, picking them apart. But it's a really good opportunity for Benji to try and put a master plan together about how it can ambush the Broncos, because you can't just go out and play footy. You've got to have a plan. You've got to know who you're shutting down. You've got to understand what their plays are like. And I wanted to just ask Eddie, do you know what the betting market is for this game? Because I know that we've got to be odds on outsiders for this one.
It was, when it released early, we were 13.5-point underdogs. I wouldn't be surprised if that's gone even further. So I reckon probably 15, 16-point underdogs. Given as well, Gary, like their three wins, they put 50 on the Roosters, and I think they beat Dolphins and someone else, by 12, but they were all on wet tracks. So I'm scared if it's a dry track there. I just had a look at the weather in Brisbane. There's a couple of showers, but I think the wetter the better for us, because it just slows some of their athletes down a little bit. I think it's a sort of game, if you spoke, in maths terms, if you played it 10 times, I reckon we'd beat them once. Who knows? That could be Saturday night. You might get an upset. And as much as they've got all those athletes, Gary, I still think a lot of their good play revolves around that halfback, Adam Reynolds. His kicking game. When he's not there, or if he's off his game, that can really throw him sometimes.
Yeah, and they are getting a little bit old, so both he and Hunt, the niggles, do start to get there. And I do think he has a little bit of... He's had a fair few injuries in the last couple of years, little minor things. So a slight injury to him, or Payne Haas, or someone just missing this week wouldn't be too bad.
Wouldn't it be great to watch Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds go down with the hammies during the warm-up? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, Steve asked for a detailed analysis of how we beat the Broncos. Maybe if there are any chefs out there in Brisbane, if they could put some food poisoning in the Broncos, camp and get 14 of them out. That's the way to beat the Broncos on Saturday night. But unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen. Nick, do you want to host a quiz or not? I actually sent it to you on the group chat. I didn't tell you. So you've got 10 seconds to decide whether you want to host it or you want me to host the quiz.
If you're not hosting it, we're giving it the chat GP and he can have your spot.
I can host it. I've just pulled it up. So
Yachty's quiz.
Yachty's quiz. All right.
Let's do it, Nick. We're ready to go.
Let's get into question 1. And this is without reading it at all. So Yachty, I'll do my best, mate. Question 1, it's multiple choice. Which premiership-winning bench player did not feature in all of our 2005 final series games? Was it Liam Fulton, Chris Hyington, Bryce Gibbs, or Todd Payton?
Todd Payton.
Didn't feature in...
They missed one.
Yeah, yep.
All right, they missed one. Yeah. I'm going to say Bryce Gibbs probably got suspended for something.
Sadly, Gary's correct. It's Todd Payton. He missed the 50-6 qualifying final against the Cowboys with Bronson Harrison, the replacement. Good old Bronson.
Gary. I'll save that for next week. Just mention it now, Nick. It was a fan poll, I think, went out on Instagram about the best West Tigers team ever. Thought there were a couple of little surprises there, but we'll talk about that next week. I think all those guys you mentioned were somewhere in the 17.
I think you could be right. Question 2 is a true or false. The above 4 premiership-winning bench players all scored tries in the 2005 final series. Was that true or false?
Well, Todd Payton scored in the grand final, as did Bryce Gibbs. Liam Fulton.
That's false.
I reckon Liam Fulton might have scored against the Cowboys. We put 50 on him. Who was
the other in the final? Not in the grand final.
Chris Hyington was
Chris Hyington scored against St George. So definitely 3 of them scored. But Gary's sort of inside Yachty's head going, there's always one that hasn't. I'm going to go true. I reckon Fulton scored against the Cowboys.
I'll go false, just to oppose Eddie.
Well, Eddie gets this one. The answer is true. They all scored tries. How about that? If you want, do you want to know what games they scored tries in? Liam Fulton scored in the qualifying finals for the Cowboys. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Let's just go to question 3. Nearest the pin, question 3. While scoring an insane 676 points during the 2005 regular season, how many points did we concede? Nearest the pin, Gary.
He doesn't want to go first.
I don't care. I know Gary's tactic. Gary, you can go first, mate. We scored an insane 676 points during 2005 regular season. 601?
Yeah, I'll go. Not going to lower myself to Gary's standards. I'm going to go 575.
Oh, Eddie Otto, 575 is the correct answer.
I did look, Gary. That looks bad.
Oh, you cheat. I do have to point out that the questions were sent to Eddie. I have no doubt he's read them now.
You might have had a sneak look at one. No, I trust you,
Good
Eddie.
job, Eddie. That's a good get.
I didn't think he'd cheat, mate. Okay, let's move to question 4. Gary, can you keep count of the tally? Because I'm not actually counting.
I'm in front 7-1.
Okay, good stuff. Question 4 in that case. Name the 7 players who have left us to directly sign with the Brisbane Broncos. I'll give you a hint. Lockie Takiri does not count due to playing rugby union in between.
Blair.
Adam Blair is one.
Left us to go to the Broncos.
Yep.
Ben Teo? No, did he go to South?
He went South
Ben
first.
Teo, yes. No, that's correct. Ben Teo.
He must went the other way.
Left us to go to the Broncos.
I'll give you a clue. One of them's playing. Actually, I think he might be on the bench this week.
Well, the Broncos.
Yeah.
Any good players in there?
He may be the son of a former coach.
Oh, Billy Walters.
Oh, yeah, Walters.
Billy Walters, yep, that's 3. And another one.
The answer to your question was no, Eddie.
I remember there was a headline, Nick, just digressing back in the day. Tigers signed Lockyer. And I clicked on it. I thought, oh, we've signed Darren Lockyer. And when he signed his older brother from the Queensland Cup, who didn't even make it past the first.
Matt, was he? I can't.
Yeah,
I remember that.
He was like 5 years older, and it was just the clickbait headline. When back in the day before clickbait headlines,
Okay.
Tigers signed Lockyer, and it was Doug Lockyer or something.
It's better than clicking on the link and getting a virus on your laptop. But anyway, one of the next players, I'll give you a clue, is another half that sort of played around the Luke Brooks era, although he was at Tigers for quite a while, but he's now at the Broncos on the extended bench this week.
Oh, yeah. Madden.
Yes, Jock, correct. He's one of them. There's another half.
Good Scone boy.
Who I don't think is at the Broncos at the moment. His first name rhymes with a vacuum cleaner brand.
Tyson Gamble.
Tyson Gamble, correct.
Well done, Gary.
There's 2 more. One of them's been in trouble with the law, quite put badly over in America.
Matt Lodge.
Matt Lodge, yes. And there's one left, sorry. Initials are DH.
It's not that Delawise.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, Deloise Hoyter.
That was about 3-3 there. I think we did all right at the end. You gave us a few clues, but
not bad. I'll give that one to you, Eddie. I think you won that one, mate. Well done.
Yeah, it's all right. He's still behind 7-2.
I like this new host.
No worries. Now, this one might put everyone to sleep. It's actually called Yachty's Story Time. So just grab yourself a cup of warm milk.
I usually put a blanket on when we get to this one.
It was the 4th of May in Tim Sheens' first year as our head coach, stint number 1. Our West Tigers were hosting the Brisbane Broncos at Leichhardt Oval.
I remember this game. I was at it.
Subsequently, the joint venture lost 38-6. Winger Luke Cavell scored our only points with both a try and a conversion. What jersey did we wear that day, and briefly describe its features?
I remember it was 3 stripes, a white stripe, an orange stripe, and a black stripe. And I don't know why they wore it, whether it was a heritage one, but I actually quite liked it.
Yeah, it was a heritage jersey.
Yeah, it was. It's called Team of the Century. I've actually got that same jersey with the same design, but it doesn't have this. The photo Yachty's got on the document here's got the Radisson Main sponsorship. I think mine had
Radisson Main, one
on
of
it,
the dodgy sponsors we had back in the day.
Yeah. Not a bad looking jersey though. So,
Purple World, they were the best one. That green and blue and pink.
Yeah.
What about Walker?
Walker noodles.
Walker noodles, yeah. Good noodles.
On small goods. Are they still going around? The salami and the sausage?
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't think so.
No, Proton cars can't beat them. JFTA, of course, 2005. Good year. That's all of it. Eddie, I think you won that one, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You said I was scoring. I
who
won
am I
7-3.
Your maths is bad.
Getting lazy, Yachty. No, who am I at the end? All right, boys. Well, I won't be on Saturday night because I'll be out. Although we don't do a podcast Saturday night, do we? Sunday night I might have recovered because usually, Gary, I don't get that angry when we get flogged, so it'll be all right. You know, it's only get angry when we lose games by refereeing calls or close games. So I think I'm
look, a game where you're expecting us to not do well, you're less volatile. I'll give you that.
Like I said during the chat during the week, Gary, I'm going to remain positive.
Oh, you've been positive all season. I haven't seen any negativity from you on any platform at all, Eddie.
Thanks, boys. See you Sunday night.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, boys.